Something huge is happening in the world of pathology, which is really the bedrock of how we diagnose diseases. A revolution is underway, and it's all being driven by artificial intelligence. So today, let's dive into the two very different worlds this revolution has created and what it means for the future.
For, hundreds of years, pathology has been more of an art. It's all about a highly trained pathologist, their eye, and a microscope. It's been a manual, kind of subjective process, but that is all changing, and fast. We're seeing this incredible shift from that art form to a truly automated, quantitative science.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this whole AI revolution, we have to start with the fundamental shift that makes everything else possible, turning physical glass slides into digital data.
It all starts with something called whole slide imaging, or WSI for short. Just think of it like an incredibly powerful scanner that makes a complete, super high-resolution digital copy of a pathology slide. And this is the absolute first crucial step that turns physical tissue into a massive pile of data.
Right, so once you've got that slide in digital form, we enter the world of computational pathology. That's when you can unleash AI algorithms on it to find patterns that a human eye could never see and to quantify features with a level of precision that a person just can't match.
So, with this incredible technology in hand, you've got this fiercely competitive market just exploding in human medicine. It's a world of huge investments, really strict regulations, and this high-stakes battle to see who will own the hospital lab of the future.
Now, it's super important to get this point. This AI isn't here to replace doctors. Not at all. It's designed to be a powerful co-pilot, a tool that works with the pathologist to make them faster, more efficient, and way more confident in their diagnosis.
And believe me, this market is packed with some real heavy hitters. You have these focused AI companies like Paige and Ibex going head-to-head with the established giants like Roche and Philips. And each one of them is betting on a slightly different strategy to win.
So this is where it gets really interesting. You've got this huge strategic battle playing out. On one side, you have the closed systems, where one company gives you the whole shebang, the scanner, the software, everything. On the other side, you've got a huge push for open platforms, which are basically like an app store for pathology AI. It's a big choice for labs. Do you want the smooth all-in-one package but risk getting locked in? Or do you want the flexibility to pick and choose the best tools? But let's be real. In the human clinical world, there's one massive gatekeeper: regulation. Getting FDA approval in the United States is a huge deal. It literally creates this powerful moat around your product, giving you a major competitive edge. Paige was actually the first to do this for diagnosing cancer from scratch, and it really set a new standard for everyone else.
Okay, let's switch gears completely and jump over to a totally different world, the veterinary field. The challenges here are different, the budgets are smaller, and it sparked a completely different kind of revolution, one built, from the ground up. You see, those huge, expensive systems we just talked about, they're just not going to work for most vet labs. Vets are dealing with all kinds of different species and much tighter budgets. So what do? They have to get creative. They've had to find another way. And that creativity has sparked a real grassroots revolution, mostly powered by incredible open-source software. The star of the show is a program called QuPath. It's powerful, it's free, and it's become the absolute go-to tool for vets and researchers. This thing literally democratizes the entire technology, letting anyone analyze slides and even build their own custom AI.
So you've got QuPath, and then you have the legendary scientific imaging software ImageJ. These two are basically the backbone of this whole DIY movement. They give people the power and the flexibility they need to tackle all the unique challenges you find in veterinary medicine. And this slide just perfectly shows the difference between these two worlds. It's not just the software that's more accessible, the hardware is too. You can get excellent, high-quality scanners for just a fraction of what those top-tier hospital systems cost. It completely changes the game.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're in a fancy human hospital or a scrappy vet lab. How does this AI actually make a diagnosis better? Well, let's dig into one of the coolest applications, turning that subjective art into a hard science.
One of the biggest challenges in pathology has always been that it's subjective. When a diagnosis relies on someone's visual interpretation, it can vary from person to person. So the big question is, how do you turn that visual hunch into a hard number that's the same every single time?
Well, this is where AI is a total game changer. The old way, the manual method, is for pathologists to just eyeball it and say, yeah, it looks like about 30% of the cells are positive. But the AI, it goes through and counts every single cell.
It gives you a precise, reproducible number, like 31.4%. It's a night and day difference.
And that kind of precision, it's absolutely critical for these key cancer biomarkers. Think of these as flags on cancer cells. For markers like Ki-67, which tells you how fast cells are dividing, or PD-L1, which helps predict if a powerful immunotherapy will work, literally, the decision of whether a patient gets that treatment can come down to a single percentage point. Getting that number right is everything.
But look, jumping into this digital future isn't as easy as just buying a new piece of equipment. If you want to build the lab of tomorrow, you need a solid game plan, because there's some very real hurdles you've got to get over.
And you got to remember, this is a whole journey, right? It's a process. You start with getting a scanner, you make sure your images are good quality, but that last step, validation, oh man, that is the most critical part. Before you ever use an AI on a real patient, you absolutely have to test it like crazy on your own data to make sure it's safe and accurate. You can't skip it.
And here's the thing, it doesn't matter if you're a huge hospital or a tiny vet clinic, everybody hits the same roadblocks. The initial cost is high, the data storage needs are just massive, getting it to work with your existing lab software can be a nightmare, and then there's navigating all the privacy rules. These are universal challenges for everyone. So, all of this leaves us with a pretty big thought. For the last century, the microscope has been the symbol, the defining tool of medicine's final answer. But as we're seeing, the algorithm is becoming just as important. The big question now is, while the microscope defined 20th century medicine, will the algorithm be what defines the 21st?